Here are 12 things you didn't know about Michael Jordan. Starting with number 12. You won't believe what Jordan did before every game. Most athletes would do their best not to feel sluggish during a game. However, Jordan didn't think like most athletes. In fact, he would eat a 23-ounce steak with mashed potatoes before every game.
But my nutrition is very important as well. You got to eat 3 good meals a day. On game days, I used to eat my favorite meal, which is 4 hours before game time, steak and potato.
He wasn't a big fan of water either, since he accompanied his meals with a ginger ale. At number 11, we have another strange habit for an athlete. Jordan didn't just like to eat well before going out on the court. He also loved to smoke.
Let's see if all that trash talking starts when it's 0-0.
In 1991, he smoked his first cigarette after winning an NBA championship. But by 1993, it became a habit. Jordan decided to smoke a cigar that year as part of his ritual before every game. He always smoked at home since it gave him a certain sense of pleasure. In a 2005 interview with Cigar Aficionado, he admitted that he found smoking cigars relaxing.
I like a big cigar. I can smoke a small cigar too. I like variety. I like to at least experiment.
Learning that your favorite athlete smokes before every game may not be encouraging. Despite this, his vice didn't stop him from becoming one of the greatest basketball players ever. This brings us to number 10.
One of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world.
Did you know Jordan was the oldest player to score over 40 points? Although Jordan's time with the Wizards was not a great success, he proved that he still had that magic that made his fans follow him everywhere. He is the only player in NBA history to score 40-plus points in a game while over 40. He's also the only 40-year-old player to average more than 20 points per game. Not content with this, he is the second oldest player to score 50 points in a game, and some still think LeBron can surpass his legacy. When he played for the Bulls at age 35, Jordan was the oldest player named MVP and scoring champion.
We're down to 5. Jordan putting moves on Russell. We're down to 2. Now to 1.
At all ages, he was a beast who defied all odds to beat his younger rivals. Unfortunately, he also had a tragic past, and that's what number 9 is about. In 1993, his father, James Jordan, was shot while sleeping in his car. The police officers found his lifeless body in a swamp in South Carolina. Subsequently, 2 men were arrested and convicted of his murder. Although the family obtained justice, it was too late to repair the damage these men caused. Jordan's father's death had a terrible impact on his life. Shortly after that, he retired from basketball after losing the motivation to continue playing.
Everyone knows exactly what the circumstances are right now in terms of my decision not to play the game of basketball.
Fortunately, he managed to find the energy to get back on the court, and when he did it in a big way.
Watching that one.
Jordan resumed his career and led the Bulls to a championship on Father's Day. The date was significant for Jordan and caused him to burst into tears in the locker room after the victory. Despite this, he has never resented life and has gone out of his way to help others. That's why we have one of his greatest acts of charity at number 8. In 2001, he came out of retirement to play for the Wizards, and he did it for a good cause.
In traffic.
Jordan returned to the game shortly after the 9/11 tragedy and announced his intention to donate his year's salary to relief efforts. In doing so, he contributed $900,000 to relief efforts and $100,000 to the children whose parents died on 9/11. Jordan wanted his return to have a positive impact on society. However, this is not the only time he has used his immense fortune to help others. This brings us to number 7. Jordan made the largest single donation in Make-A-Wish history, a record $10 million donation in honor of his 60th birthday.
I've gone off and made my life in Illinois and other places, but
Since 1989, he has granted wishes to hundreds of children all over the world. However, some believe that his desire to help children was born out of one of his most traumatic experiences. This leads us to number 6. Jordan has a phobia of water for a very good reason. As a young boy, he watched a friend drown. His fear of water led Michael to nearly drown at a baseball camp when he was 11 years old. Since then, he has largely overcome his phobia.
We're down to 2. Now to 1.
However, he still doesn't feel comfortable enough being around large bodies of water. For number 5, we have one of the strangest things in his collection. Did you know he has a table with 32,292 holes in it? Even if it sounds weird, it has an explanation. Michael wanted to commemorate scoring over 32,000 points during his NBA career, and he had no better idea than to commission a table that would represent his career as a basketball star.
Whose game is it? It's Michael Jordan's game.
Sculptor Michael N. Survey was the man behind such a masterpiece. 1990s, he created a custom aluminum table to commemorate the incredible career of one of the greatest players in history. You may think Jordan only loves physical sports, but he also loves esports, or at least the money he can make from them. This leads us to number 4. Jordan saw great potential in the video game industry. He was part of a $50 million investment in the company behind Fortnite, one of the most successful video games ever. However, he didn't always recognize the potential of this industry. So let's move on to number 3.
He does. There's Jordan. He blows by Pearson. Jammed it down. He blew by
Jordan out front, pressured by Dennis Johnson. Michael on the drive, in from the right. Hesitation move to the hoop for the right. Scoop shot, good on the reverse. Michael!
In the 1990s, during the early days of Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo sports gaming, he refused to participate in the National Basketball Players Association shared licensing agreement. Jordan was interested in the money, but wanted to be part of a video game built around his skills and talents, rather than a generic stat. In other words, he wanted to be a star both on the court and in the digital world. However, many companies were resourceful in this regard, and they worked their way through special individual licensing. Eventually, he decided to sign with 2K Sports to make a series of games that lived up to his name.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up.
In the number 2 spot we have the day Jordan played against a kid in a wheelchair and got his ass kicked. Most of you may be too young to remember, but in 1987, Jordan was beaten by a 16-year-old kid named Eric Barber.
Right by. Michael playing that Matador defense. Watches Eric go right by.
Barber wrote a letter to an NBC Sports show explaining his dream of playing against his Chicago Bulls idol, which led to the arrangement of the toughest game in Jordan's career. The NBA star had to face the wheelchair-bound kid. In the end, Barber won with a score of 20-14. However, Michael believes things would have been very different if he had practiced during the week. That game may have motivated Barber to become an athlete, as he has since participated in 4 Paralympic Games and won 2 bronze medals for the United States.
Both men. The fantasy achieved. Eric Barber, the winner.
However, there is one last thing about Jordan that I bet you didn't know.
He doesn't want to be, a public figure. He always used to talk way early. And actually he would tell us, he said, once I'm gone, you'll never see me again.
He never wanted to be a public figure. Jordan is probably the most famous basketball player who ever lived. He's the visible face of the sport and the reason many people have heard of it.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Michael Jordan hit the basket at the buzzer.
Rimming, no. Rebound, Cartwright. Off to Jordan. Michael underneath for the dunk.
Whoa! Michael Jordan power jam in Barkley's face. The Bulls lead is 5. Barkley looking for the offensive foul. Did you see his arm come out? Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move by Jordan! It counts.
Moreover, he has a mythical status due to the enormous amount of achievements he has accomplished in his career. However, he clearly did not want to be famous. As a young man, he told writer Sam Smith Young that he did not want to use public attention to his advantage and preferred a private life to being a public figure. One of Jordan's favorite phrases was, "Once I'm gone, you'll never see me again," as he refused the idea of selling himself as a commodity or a product. Interestingly, his name is behind one of the world's most famous sneaker brands, Air Jordan.
To the right. Hesitation move to the hoop.
Chicago!
Michael's arrival at Nike was the best business deal ever made by an athlete off the court. This deal, dating back to 1984, has brought billions of dollars to both parties. Despite this, Jordan rarely gives interviews and tries to make the most of his free time away from the cameras. But it's virtually impossible to have privacy when you're as famous as he is. Many reporters and fans jump on him as soon as they see him. Maybe that's why he yearns so fervently to stay off the radar.
Winning has a price. And leadership has a price. So I pull people along when they didn't want to be pulled. I challenge people when they don't want to be challenged. Once you join the team, you live at a certain standard that I played the game. And I wasn't going to take any less. Now, that means I have to go in there and get your ass grass a little bit, and I did that.
You asked all my teammates? One thing about Michael Jordan was he never asked me to do something that he didn't fucking do.
I wanted to win, but I wanted them to win and be a part of that as well. Like, I don't have to do this. I'm only doing it because it is who I am. That's how I played the game. That was my mentality. If you don't want to play that way, don't play that way.
A save and a shot by MJ.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
Before you go, comment below what other curious things you know about Michael Jordan.